used the following fabrics and tools for this project. I already have a video for this wrap dress pattern, so I have a separate tutorial just dedicated to the patterns for this dress, and I'm going to link that down below in the description box. It's quite detailed and easy to follow, so check that out as well if you're not familiar with the patterns for a wrap dress. And I'll be using these fabrics for the dress. I love this Ankara print, and it's something that I'd used in one of my Sewing with Kim classes, so I just had to use the leftover bit, which was about 2 meters, in combination with this mint green scuba material that is quite stiff and a little bit stretchy. So it's quite thick as well, and that just goes really well with the Ankara print. I also got some pins, scissors and tape measure. So I just went on ahead and I pinned down my patterns the way I wanted them to work on the Ankara material, as well as this green one. And I just cut out how many I need, not forgetting to cut out my notches because they just make my life so much easier when it's actually time to put the pieces together. So I decided to play around with, I like to play around with prints and fabrics. So I cut one side of the front in Ankara and the other side in the mint green. So these are the number of pieces I have. I have my front in Ankara and the other part in the green material, and I have the back in like the full Ankara print as one piece. As for the facing, I cut one side of the facing in Ankara to correlate with the Ankara side and the other side in the green. I cut my sleeves, 2 of them in Ankara print. I also cut straps which will go around the sleeve in the green material because I just thought it was a cool contrast, the green against the print. As for the strap that goes along the waist, I cut a pair, 1 of each material, so when you flip it across you sort of get the best of both worlds. And the last thing here is the facing for the back, which I cut in the print material to go with the print of the back of this dress. The first thing that you need to sew is the dots on the front and the back of this dress. And one thing I love about transferring dots is once you have it on the pattern, all you really need to do is to use a pin to puncture the holes, that's the 4 crucial holes that a dot has, onto the material, and then use a chalk to mark that hole. So because this Ankara is like, the print is quite vibrant, I couldn't really see the hole, so I had to leave the pin in, just raise the pattern slightly and then go back in with the chalk to mark the points. So once I had my 4 points marked, you can draw the shape out if you're not really like sure of how to sew a dot, so you know what line to sew. But because I already know how dots fairly work, I just pinned the dot shape in place. So I brought together those 2 midpoints and I pinned them together, ensuring they were like correct and in order, and then I just pinned the top and the bottom side so it's easier for me to sew when I take these to my sewing machine. So I did this process for the 2 sides of the front and 2 dots in the back of this dress. Taking this to my domestic machine, I am going to sew my dot shape, which, if you're familiar with sewing dots, it's sort of like a triangle or 2 triangles. So you start out from the very top or the very bottom, and I've done a little illustration here just to make it easier for someone to understand. So the red line shows how you're supposed to sew your dot into place. So just start from that top, go into the middle and finish off into nothing, literally. So I repeated the same for the front panels and for the back as well, so we don't have to spend the whole day here on this tutorial. And this is what they all look like. So as you can see, I've marked on the dots on the other side and I've sewed it in as well. And I've done the same for the back, because once all of the dots is sorted, you can think about the shoulder and the side seam of this dress. So I'm just going in to pin the shoulder seams together. That's the shoulder of the front to the shoulders of the back, and doing the same for the side seams. But because this is a wrap dress, we need to create a hole opening on one of the sides. So I decided to put this green layer underneath the print layer, meaning the hole has to be on this side of the dress. So you just mark how wide the hole is to correlate with the strap width. If your strap is bigger, you need to make the hole wider. If your strap is smaller, you can make the hole smaller. So I'm just going in to sew my side seams here as well as my shoulder seams before overlocking. So when it comes to overlocking, you can overlock your shoulder seams together, but when you come to that side seam, you need to overlock it separately, especially that side seam that has the opening, because if you overlock it together, you're going to automatically close that hole. So as you can see, I'm opening it up here and overlocking both edges. You can do this before you join the side seam, but I didn't want to get rid of the notch that I had marked indicating my hole. So this is what the dress looks like right now. I've overlocked everything. It looks nice, tidy and neat, and it just I swear I really love properly finished garments inside. Like, it shouldn't just look pretty on the outside, it should look pretty on the inside as well. So as you can see, my hole is open, but there's one more step to do on this side to ensure that it looks really nice and neat from the outside as well. So I folded that seam outwards and I've just held it down with pins so it's easier for you guys to understand. And I'm going to sew a rectangle from the top to the bottom all the way around, forming that rectangular shape, which would secure that hole open. So this is what I mean. My stitch is not very straight. Let's not just talk about that now, but once you've stitched that rectangular shape, it's going to keep that hole automatically open. Moving on to the facing for this dress, I have pinned together the front facings to the back along the shoulders, and I'm just going in here to sew them on a 1 centimeter seam allowance before overlocking that shoulder seam. So overlocking the left and the right shoulder seams, and then overlocking the inside of the facing, which is what you would see when you look inside the dress. You don't need to overlock the other side, just that outside bit of the facing. So I also went ahead to work on the straps. Like I said, I alternated the straps. I didn't use the same fabrics on the two sides of the strap panels. I put one green one and one print one. What am I saying? And one print one. And I just thought it would be cool when you sort of look at the straps from both sides, it's different colors. So I'm using one continuous stitch to sew all the way around, and when I get to the edge, I turn it and close off one end of the tunnel. So when I turn this inside out, I have a clean and finished strap. So I'm going to go in to pin my facing to my actual dress, and you see why we did the straps before we did this process. So once I've pinned together my front, my necklines, my shoulder seams, I'm going to grab a strap and sandwich it in between the facing and the actual garment. And I was conscious of what side of the strap was facing you, because when you wrap the dress around you, I wanted that print to show over the green. So this would depend on what kind of material you use, but just be conscious of what side of the strap that you are working with. So once I've sandwiched both straps on the two sides of the dress, you can go ahead and sew everything using one continuous stitch. So this is what it looks like right now. I just like to pin things in place before taking it to my machine to sew, because I find I don't have to really think very much when I am sewing, compared to if I just take the pieces hanging loosely and I figure out where they're supposed to be. So as you can see, that strap is in place, and I've put the green side against the green material of this dress. So when I turn this way, I see the green side, and I don't know, I just have a weird way of playing with prints and colors, and I just think it's really cool and fun. So I'm going to take this to my machine, and I will start from the hem of one side, sew all the way around to the end of the hem of the other side. So when I get to this edge here, I'm going to turn it towards the front, drop my foot, and continue sewing all the way around using that same stitch, because then all you have to do is just sew this particular part once. You catch your strap, you join your face into the dress, and when you get to the other end, just finish it off on the hem. So now I'm going to go in with my tiny scissors to cut those edges, so the edges in the front and the edges along the hem. So when I turn this facing piece inside out, it's nice and smooth. So this is what one side of the wrap dress looks like. It actually looks really good already, but I'm going to think about closing off the hem. And because we folded the hem inwards like this when we were sewing, I'm just going to sew from one end of the dress to the other end, following that fold that the dress automatically made when we stitched it like that at the beginning. So once that is done, I'm going to take a look to see if I like everything. The dress is looking really good already. I haven't pressed it yet. I just put it on my mannequin to see if it fits right, if the silhouette is okay, if I need to change anything, but so far so good. So this is the contrasting effect I talked about. Having that green print strap over the plain green material looked really cool, and I like the fact that the strap has two sides. So it's just a play on colors, a play on print, and as you can see, the whole looks nice and neat for that other strap to come out of to unite with the other strap at the back. So for the front necklines, I did an edge stitch, which I did in my previous video, and what that does is it keeps the facing inside of the dress when you have it on. So after that is all done, I'm going to go ahead and think about my sleeves. I decided to put straps in the sleeves because why not? We can put straps wherever we want. But you have to think about where you want your strap to sit. So I decided mine to sit around 6.5 inches from the hem, and then you mark the beginning and the end of your strap, meaning the width of your strap. So you just pin that in place before joining the side seam of the sleeve. So I had a total of 4 straps, 2 for each side, and I closed off one end of the tunnel, leaving the other end open. So when I turn the strap inside out, I can fit it into the side seam of the sleeve. So I'm just going in here to pin 2 straps in place and then pin it into the side seam of the sleeve on the point that I marked. You can have yours higher, you can have yours lower, but I find having mine around the wrist is comfortable to wear. So I've just decided I want it around this region of the sleeve, and I've pinned it in place. So I'm going to take this to my machine and sew it on a 1 centimeter seam allowance, trapping the straps in place before overlocking this seam on my domestic overlocker. After overlocking, I'm going to go in and pin my sleeve into my armhole. So I have gathered the head of the sleeve. I've done this in a few of my videos already, but if you guys want me to do a separate video explaining this particular step, let me know in the comment section down below. And after pinning the sleeve in place and adjusting it to my taste, I'm just going in to stitch it into the armhole of the dress. So I repeated the same process for the left and the right hand side before finishing off the hem of the sleeve. Once I'm done finishing off the hem of the sleeve, the dress is relatively done. All I had to do was go in and iron or press all of the seams, all of the straps, so everything is nicely finished and relaxed. So this is the finished dress. I say the number of stares I got wearing this dress was just incredible. I enjoyed making the dress, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. I love the outcome. It's something that is very summery, and it's something that I could dress up or down depending on my mood or the season. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave all your comments and thoughts down below. If you have any suggestions, questions or ideas, I'm open to all of them as always. And until my next video, keep being creative and innovative. Bye.